I was never much of a chess player growing up. I understood the basic rules, knew how the pieces moved, but strategy was something that always eluded me. My boyfriend Alex, on the other hand, was practically a chess prodigy. He'd been playing since he was 5 years old, competed in tournaments throughout high school, and even considered pursuing it professionally before deciding on computer science instead. We met at a board game cafe near campus. I was there with friends playing Caton, and he was teaching chess to beginners in the corner. I couldn't help noticing him, tall, with dark-rimmed glasses that somehow made his green eyes stand out even more, and this endearing habit of running his hand through his curly hair whenever he was thinking deeply about a move. It took me 3 weeks to work up the courage to talk to him, and another 2 before we went on our first date. Fast forward 6 months, and we'd fallen into a comfortable routine of movie nights, study sessions, and yes, occasional chess lessons where he'd patiently try to teach me strategy while I'd get distracted by how cute he looked when he was explaining the Sicilian defense. It was a Friday evening in late October when the whole strip chess incident happened. The kind of autumn night that's perfect for staying in, rain tapping against the windows of Alex's apartment, a small space but cozy, with bookshelves overflowing with chess strategy guides and computer science textbooks. We'd ordered Thai food, finished a bottle of wine, and were debating what to do with the rest of our evening. We could watch that documentary you've been wanting to see, I suggested, scrolling through Netflix on his laptop. Alex was setting up his chessboard, a beautiful wooden set his grandfather had given him. Or, he said with that half-smile that always made my heart skip, I could finally teach you how to think 3 moves ahead instead of just one. I groaned dramatically, falling back onto his couch. You know I'm hopeless. My brain just doesn't work that way. You're not hopeless, he laughed. You're just impatient. Chess requires patience. Well, maybe I need more motivation, I said, the wine making me a little bolder than usual. Regular chess doesn't exactly keep my interest. That's when Alex got that look in his eyes, the one that meant he was formulating a plan. What if we made it more interesting? He suggested, arranging the last few pieces on the board. I'm listening, I replied, sitting up straighter. Strip chess, he said simply, and I nearly choked on my last sip of wine. Every time you lose a piece, you lose an article of clothing. Now, I should explain that despite dating for 6 months, Alex and I had been taking the physical side of our relationship relatively slowly. We'd certainly rounded some bases, but we were both somewhat reserved people who valued the emotional connection we were building. This suggestion was delightfully out of character for him, which made it all the more intriguing. You do realize you're going to destroy me at chess, right? I pointed out. I'll be naked while you're still fully dressed. He shrugged, trying to look innocent. Maybe I'll go easy on you. Or maybe, I countered, we should adjust the rules. You lose a major piece like a rook, bishop, or knight, 1 article of clothing. I lose any piece, 1 article of clothing. That's hardly fair, he protested, but he was smiling. It's handicapping, I insisted. Like in golf. You're the chess equivalent of a scratch golfer. I need strokes. After some negotiation, we settled on rules we both found acceptable. I would remove something for each piece I lost. He would remove something for each major piece. Rook, knight, bishop, queen. He lost. Pawns didn't count for him. We also agreed that socks counted as 1 item, not 2, and that we'd each start with roughly the same number of clothing items. I took inventory. Socks, jeans, t-shirt, hoodie, and underwear. 5 items. Alex had socks, jeans, t-shirt, and underwear. 4 items. You need 1 more thing, I pointed out. He disappeared into his bedroom and returned wearing a beanie. Better. I laughed. Much. Shall we begin? The game started innocently enough. Alex played white, moving his king's pawn forward 2 spaces, the classic opening move. I mirrored him, and for the first few moves, we developed our pieces methodically. I could tell he was going easy on me, but I still felt that familiar sense of mental fog that always descended when I tried to think strategically in chess. Remember, he coached, try to control the center of the board. Each piece should have a purpose. My purpose right now is to keep my clothes on, I joked, moving my knight to a position that seemed reasonable. Alex smiled, then moved his bishop to pin my knight against my queen. Are you sure about that move? He asked gently. I studied the board, realizing my mistake. Damn it. I moved my queen to safety, but it opened up another vulnerability. Check, he said a few moves later, his bishop threatening my king. I moved my king to safety, but in doing so, left my knight exposed. In the next move, he captured it. And so it begins, I sighed dramatically, reaching down to pull off my socks. One down, for to go. The game's just starting, he reminded me, his eyes following my hands as I set my socks aside. The next few moves went better for me. I managed to develop my pieces and even put some pressure on his position. But Alex had been playing chess for too long to be rattled easily. He patiently built his position, and before long, he'd trapped one of my bishops. "That's two," I said, pulling my hoodie over my head and tossing it aside. The apartment wasn't cold, but I still felt a flutter of vulnerability sitting there in just my t-shirt and jeans. "You're doing better than you think," Alex encouraged. "Your position isn't bad." But 3 moves later, he captured my rook, and I found myself removing my t-shirt. Now I was sitting across from him in just my jeans and bra, feeling increasingly aware of every glance he cast my way. "You're getting distracted," I accused, noticing how his eyes kept drifting from the board. "Can you blame me?" he asked with a grin. Chess is suddenly much more interesting than usual. I made my next move deliberately, trying to set a trap for his queen. To my surprise, it worked. He moved right into it, and I captured his knight. "Ha!" I exclaimed triumphantly. "Off with something." Alex laughed and pulled off his beanie. "Well played," he acknowledged. "I didn't see that coming." "Maybe I'm the one providing the distraction now," I suggested, feeling a new confidence despite being the more undressed of the two of us. The game continued, the tension in the room shifting between competitive chess focus and something decidedly more flirtatious. I lost another piece, a pawn, but reminded Alex that according to our rules, pawns didn't count for me. "I'm starting to regret that handicap," he muttered, studying the board. Then came the moment that changed the entire dynamic of the game. Alex had developed a strong attack against my king, and I was running out of defensive options. His queen was the centerpiece of his strategy, bearing down on my position relentlessly. I was certain my next few pieces would fall quickly, and with them, the remainder of my clothing. But then Alex did something unexpected. He moved his queen directly in line with my bishop, a piece I'd positioned several moves earlier and nearly forgotten about. "Wait," I said, staring at the board in disbelief. "Did you just—" "Your move," he said, his voice suddenly husky. I looked up at him, then back at the board. There was no chess logic to what he'd done. His queen was hanging, completely unprotected. It was the most powerful piece in the game, and he'd just sacrificed it for no strategic gain whatsoever. "Are you sure about that move?" I asked, echoing his earlier question to me. He nodded, his eyes never leaving mine. "Completely sure." I captured his queen with my bishop, still bewildered by his decision. "That's your queen," I said unnecessarily. "That's a major piece." "I'm aware," he replied, standing up. Without hesitation, he unbuttoned his jeans and stepped out of them, folding them neatly before setting them aside. He sat back down in his t-shirt and boxers, his expression a mixture of vulnerability and anticipation. The game had suddenly shifted into something else entirely. This wasn't about chess anymore. It was about the two of us, the tension that had been building for months, and the barriers we'd carefully maintained now being deliberately dismantled. "Your move still," I reminded him, my voice barely above a whisper. The game continued, but with a different energy. We were both playing more recklessly now, less concerned with chess strategy and more focused on each other. I lost another piece, my remaining bishop, and stood up to remove my jeans. I felt Alex's eyes on me as I stepped out of them, now down to just my underwear and bra. "Check," he said a few moves later, his rook threatening my king. I moved to safety, but it was clear my position was crumbling. Within a few more moves, he captured my queen. "Checkmate is coming soon," he warned as I unhooked my bra with shaking hands. But then I saw something, a weakness in his position. His sacrifice of the queen had left holes in his defense, and in his eagerness to press his advantage, he'd neglected his king's safety. I moved my rook to an attacking position. "Check," I said, surprising both of us. Alex's eyebrows shot up as he studied the board. He moved his king to the only available square, which was exactly what I'd anticipated. I moved my remaining bishop into position. "Check again," I said, unable to keep the excitement from my voice. He had only one legal move, and it walked him right into my trap. "Checkmate," I announced in disbelief as I moved my rook to its final position. There was a moment of stunned silence as we both stared at the board. "Did you let me win?" I asked suspiciously. Alex shook his head, genuine surprise on his face. "No, I just got distracted. And that queen's sacrifice was costly." "Worth it?" I asked, gesturing to our state of undress. He smiled slowly. "Absolutely worth it." I stood up and moved around the chess table, the game forgotten now. "You know," I said, standing in front of him. In regular chess, sacrificing your queen is usually a losing strategy. And in strip chess? He asked, looking up at me. In strip chess, I replied, reaching for his hand and pulling him to his feet. It might be the smartest move you've ever made. What happened next isn't part of this story. Some things remain private between Alex and me. But I will say that we've played strip chess several more times since that night. Sometimes I win, sometimes he does, but really, we both know that the game is just a pretext. It's about vulnerability, trust, and the delicious tension of revealing ourselves to each other, piece by piece. A few weeks later, Alex gave me my own chess set, a beautiful wooden one similar to his. For practice, he said with a wink, though I'm not sure if you need it anymore. You're developing quite a talent for the game. Or maybe, I suggested, you're just more willing to sacrifice your pieces these days. He laughed and pulled me close. Only for you, he whispered, and only the ones that matter. Chess has become our thing now. Sometimes we play the regular version, sometimes the strip version, but it's always about more than just the game. It's about the night Alex sacrificed his queen and his jeans, and how a board game became the unexpected catalyst for a deeper connection between us. I'm still not a great chess player by conventional standards. I doubt I'll ever master the Sicilian defense or be able to think 10 moves ahead. But I've learned that sometimes, the most powerful move isn't about strategy at all. It's about being willing to make yourself vulnerable, to sacrifice something valuable for the chance at something even better. And as for Alex? He still runs his hand through his hair when he's thinking deeply about a move. Only now, I get to reach across the board and mess it up even more. Just one of the many privileges of being in love with a chess player who knows that sometimes the queen is worth sacrificing for the right opponent. Total_char_count, 12,487.